Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and I've just got myself a brand new Sidestick, which is the WinWing stick. Now this one was on for a sale for about 200 euros and I thought I absolutely have to give this a try. So today we are going to use exactly that one on a flight with the A320NEO from Hamburg to Düsseldorf in X-Plane featuring the ToLiss A320. So I would say we do little talking today and a little bit more flying, so why don't we head straight into the cockpit for our trip. Today we are going to fly this one from the captain's seat in the ToLiss A320, so welcome to the cockpit of the A320NEO. Let's have a quick look into what we are going to do today. So let's have a look into the OFPs, and we're going Hamburg to Düsseldorf today, and that is the Eurowings 64 Yankee. Now if we have a look into the weights over here, we'll see that we are rather full in terms of passengers, but if we now have a look into the fuel, you will see we only need 3,700 kilograms of fuel for a flight like this, and I do find that quite astonishing. 3.8 tons is all we need for this little and quick flight. Alright then, how about we get our airplane ready and start our cockpit preparation. It is rather warm and we've been standing on the gate for a little while, so let's get the APU up and running in order to have air conditioning available as quickly as possible. And then we can start aligning our IRSs. Okay, here we go. Then let's see, hydraulic quantity is good, the oxygen quantity is good, and the oil quantity. So when this happens, when the FADEC has turned itself off already and you need to check oil quantity, you can do that with the manual powering of the FADECs. So you go to the back of the overhead, and in here you can turn on the FADEC ground power, which energizes the FADECs for 5 minutes. So here we go, oil quantity is looking good as well. Alright, perfect. Let's start our flight deck setup, and we are going to request our uplinks once more today. And at the same time, we can already request our weather. So, kindly start the request now, thank you. And here we go. So that's our departure weather, thank you very much for that. And the rest of the stuff we can quickly uplink. So departure runway is going to be 23 today on a Basum 5 Bravo departure. And the wind, the latest is 160 at 8, slightly variable, temperature 25 and QNH 1019. Over at Düsseldorf we await an ILS approach onto runway 23 right. But for the fun of it, why don't we fly an ANAF approach today, making our lives a little bit more interesting. Okay, arrival, we'll take the Halma 2-3 transition, but you can expect shortcuts later on. Okay, for the emergencies, we've got Hamburg X3, which is 25 miles ahead from the runway. And the runway track is 228, so let's take that. Alright, here we go. And we are going to prepare an immediate return, just in case we need to, for an ILS approach runway 23. Okay then, fix info, we are going to extend the center line, and that's going to be a track of 228. And then we've got the Hamburg X3 point in here. Perfect. So let's save the route. Here we go. And here it is. Okay, perfect. Then let's run a quick check of the uplinked data. Reset this, please. So 62.2 and 27.9. Okay, and for the fuel we've got 3.8 tons on board, giving us 1 minute of extra time. I am impressed. Okay, let's reset this, and off we go. Compute. So config 1 plus F, up trim point 7 and 74 degrees flex temperature. So 1/0.7 up, and we've got 74 degrees of flex temperature. So speeds 46, 46, 48. And finally 1070 and 1070 is going to be our acceleration altitude. Engine out 1570. And that is it. Alright, perfect. That's our FMS setup complete. The rest of the cockpit, we quickly do all of this stuff. So let's charge our batteries. And they are charging indeed. Okay, perfect. So let's see. QNH 1019. And that is that thing set up. Weather radar. Looking good. And finally TCAS onto above. And that's it. Alright, let's go ahead and grab a couple of charts. I still find it amazing how different the different interpretations to an EFB can be. And I have to say that I really like the Fenix EFB, but this one I like quite a bit as well. Even though this is a little bit more generic over here, but then again I don't know, I can't explain it. This has a little bit of that professional look to it, if you know what I mean. Okay then, let's run a very quick check of our departure, Basum 5 Bravo. So, runway 23, initial climb, clearance is altitude 5,000 feet. So let's pre-select that, 5,000, thank you. And then, plan, oopsie, constraint. Okay, so Basum 5 Bravo, 210 knots, 500 feet, Delta Hotel 100, 210 knots. And that's what we have in here. Thereafter, Delta Hotel 105, 167, 117. So we've got 105, 167, 117. And then on towards Basum, climbing to 5,000. Perfect. Alright, cool. Let's commence our takeoff briefing, please. So, Hamburg, runway 23, Basum 5 Bravo, climbing 5,000 feet. MSA, we've got 2,100 all around. In terms of extra fuel, we don't have that much with us today. It's exactly 1 minute of extra fuel. Okay, no hotspots for the taxi, and the stop margin 386 meters. Engine out, set straight ahead to Hamburg X3, which we have on the secondary and on the fixed pages. Immediate return is possible. We're under the max landing weight, and I do not see any special operations here. We do have that 210 knot restriction on the first waypoint, so we'll have to see how the flap retraction is going to progress. Our clean speed is 215, so we might have to keep the flaps out just a little bit longer. Do you see any threats for the departure? No? Perfect. Okay, I'll say hello to the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome aboard the Eurowings Flight 7064 taking you from Hamburg towards Düsseldorf. My name is Emmanuel and I am your captain today. With me on the flight deck, a lot of lovely guys who are currently watching this video. So, expected flight time is about 35 minutes in an altitude of 22,000 feet, equaling roughly 6,000 meters. And we do expect nice weather all along en route in clear sky conditions. We would like to thank you very much for being our guests today. Do hope that you are going to enjoy this flight as much as we will. We will get back to you in flight with the latest weather update for our destination Düsseldorf. However, at the moment, looking into the weather forecast, we've got clear skies, temperature 29 degrees. Thank you very much for your attention, and finally the cabin crew is going to start their safety demonstration very shortly, so I am asking you to pay your full attention to that, as it is not just for your own safety but also for the safety of the passengers sitting around you. Once again, thank you very much for your attention and welcome on board. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, einen schönen guten Tag aus dem Cockpit. Hier spricht Ihr Kapitän. Mein Name ist Emanuel. Im Namen der Eurowings darf ich Sie ganz herzlich an Bord unseres Fluges 7064 nach Düsseldorf willkommen heißen. Flugzeit heute 35 Minuten in 22.000 Fuß oder 6.000 Metern Höhe. Wir erwarten einen ruhigen Flug und an unserem Zielort eine wunderschöne Wetterlage. 29 Grad mit einem leichten Wind und blauem Himmel. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit, danke, dass Sie heute unsere Gäste sind und wir wünschen Ihnen dann jetzt einen guten Flug und melden uns noch einmal unterwegs mit den neuesten Details zu unserem Anflug. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit. Okay, that's the passengers catered for. Then, APU is online, so let's get rid of the ground power unit. Ground cockpit, go ahead. Please disconnect external power and you can remove the chocks as well. Okay, thank you very much for that, and we call you back once we are ready to go. Cabin crew arm-doors and cross-check. Okay, slides are armed already, very good. Got a company message here. I do suppose that is gonna be the weather update that we have printed already. Yes, it is. Okay, Hamburg looking good, Düsseldorf looking good, and our alternate Hahn is looking good as well. By the way, why did it take Hahn? I believe we did file for Dortmund. Did we? Let's have a very quick check over here, just to be sure we don't run into any stuff. Yeah, Dortmund is the alternate. Okay, not sure why it took Hahn. But, yeah, well, it is fine either way. Okay, let's get better pushback to prepare the pushback. Please pre-plan that for us. That's gonna be, well, let's take the orange line over here and we'll push it just a little bit further, like so.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you're ready.
Roger, you can actually start preparing the airplane now.
Ground to cockpit. ToLiss driving up.
Okay, cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity 3,800 kilogram balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs. Nav, barrel rev, QNH 1019. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Okay, let's get our IFR clearance, please. So, let's go for some random squawk, because I just like to have something in here. Like so. Looks good. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. All doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect. Set. Parking brake.
Parking brake is set. You're clear to lift us up, and let me know when I can release my brake, please. Okay, all the ground equipment is gone. Pushback approved. So, beacon, windows, slides, thrust, idle, park brake set. Before start checklist. Parking brake set. Takeoff speeds and thrust. V114, 6 VR148, V2148, flex 74. Windows closed. Beacon on. Before start checklist complete.
How connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Brake released.
Starting pushback, and you may start the engines.
Roger. Okay, off clock at 26. Let's see, schedule is 40. Wow, we're doing good. 14 minutes early. I like that. I totally like that. Okay then, it's a Neo, so the engine start is going to take a little bit longer. Ooh, what's my zoom doing here? Okay, engine 2 start. But take a timing how long it's going to take for the engine to come up. Okay, what's our pushback doing? Looking great. The Neo is just an amazing looking airplane, isn't it? I mean, look at those engines. Okay, the engine is starting up.
Operation complete. Please set parking brake.
Brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Okay, number 2 avail, 1 minute and 25. Engine 1 start. And here we go again. Another minute 25, I suppose. But that's just about what we'll have to live with. If you look at the fuel flow and then compare it with the engine start time, then I'm more than willing to accept the longest start times. I mean, 3,800 kilograms for a flight like this. That's just amazing, isn't it? When I first looked into the fuel figures for aircraft like the A320NEO or the Boeing 737 MAX, I really thought those advertised 15 to 20% savings would be marketing talk and the real savings would be maybe, 5 or 6% or so. But no, you really see a huge difference in the amount of fuel those airplanes use up. And if you're now taking into account that that is mostly achieved by newer engines and not even changed airframes and stuff like that, then you really get to see how good those new technologies really are. But then again, think about what you could achieve if you build a totally new airplane like the A220. Okay, ground, clear disconnect, hand signal right side with a pin, and have a good day. Oh, up trim 0.7, something like this. And let's go for the after start checklist.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. I'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Thanks, see you next time, bye. So, anti-ice, off, ecam status, check, pitch trim, that's 30% set, rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. Okay, just gotta be sure to get that hand signal now. Okay, there he is. And that's the pin seen. Alright, flight controls. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. So, on the ailerons and the elevator axis, I got a new stick, which is the WinWings stick, as I said in the intro. And it looks the same as my previous Warthog, but it feels a bit nicer. It is softer in the controls, and you will see it, especially when we start the takeoff. For now, let's start taxi. Clear left side, clear right side, brake check, pressure 0, and off we go. So what I really like about the WinWings stick, what the Thrustmaster did not do right, is in the WinWing you can do very, very small inputs, and all of them are translated accurately to the simulator. While in the Thrustmaster, it had that very pronounced dead zone in the middle, and you needed quite a bit of force to get it over that, and it just needed too much force in my opinion. And the WinWing is doing that quite a bit better. Now this one is based on the Orion 2 base, and it was on sale for like $200, and I just couldn't resist to try it out like that. Alright, so I don't see any changes to the takeoff briefing, so we'll keep things exactly as they are. Come on. Man, turning that weather radar on is always a bit of a hiccup in X-Plane. Here we go. Now come back down, please. Thank you. So, just gotta wait for the cabin. They're probably gonna take a little while. Or we just convince them to be done earlier, like so. Okay, taxi checklist. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, config 1+F, radar and predictive wind shear. On and auto, engine start select, norm, ECA memo, takeoff no blue, taxi checklist complete. Alright, let's go for Alpha 3. And then the wind is 160 at 9, runway 23, clear for takeoff. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Right side clear, left side clear, lineup checklist. Takeoff runway, runway 23, TCAS, Tara, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist complete. Now, why on earth are there lights over here? This is an official runway entry. Good job, Justin. Good job. Okay, we'll just pretend we haven't seen them. So let's go. Timing. Takeoff. Manflex 74, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. So, let's see how the new stick is gonna perform. You can see how accurately I can reduce the deflection there, 100 knots. And at the same time I'm losing track of the rudder. Oh well, welcome to flight simulation. In real life, things are so much easier. Okay. V1 rotate, let's go 7.5 degrees. Very neat. Positive climb. Gear up. Well, let's do a little bit of manual flight then. Nav. No, we don't need a marker. Thank you. Okay. Thrust climb, auto thrust. It's lovely how precise and small control inputs you can make with a new stick. Those small inputs I just couldn't do with the Thrustmaster. Let me show you on my side stick. We can just do a little bit like that. And that's it already. Very accurate airplane control you can do with this. So, maintaining 110 knots at first. Let's continue the climb to 100. And look at how precise the plane can be flown. Totally love it. It's cheaper than the Thrustmaster and it's giving better results. What else can you ask for? Okay. Time for acceleration. Flap 0. Speed check. Flap 0. That's standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 52. Now. Checked. Alright then. Very tiny pitch up input, and the plane follows perfectly. That is exactly what I'm looking for in a side stick. So let's go all the way up to cruising level 220. Set. Flight level 220 blue. So I'll simply keep hand flying for a little bit because it is such a joy. And then we will slowly make our way towards Düsseldorf. It's just a quick 30-minute flight, so things are going to go quite quick. I'm thinking about just punching the cost index up higher a little bit, just to make it a little bit quicker. But for now, let's just enjoy the hand flying, and then all the other stuff we can do later on when we actually reach our cruising altitude. Or at least the later parts of the climb. Approaching Delta Hotel 105. We'll simply go straight across this, very slight right-hand turn. But you know what, we are like still well inside controlled airspace, so let's just give ourselves a little direct here towards Basel. Hey, making our life easier. So look at how easy it is to control pitch and roll at the same time. Previously I always had some problems with that because the Thrustmaster was so stiff. Now with a WinWings stick, that is just not the case anymore. And this is looking very good. Okay, I'll let the airplane accelerate until we reach target speed, then I'm going to pitch it up, and that's gonna be it. Then we'll put the autopilot on. Here we go. Once again, look at how smooth of a control input I can make with this. Absolutely love it. Okay, cool. Autopilot 1. So you engage the autopilot and it basically doesn't do any control input. That is what things should look like. Okay then, let's quickly do the lights as well. Release passengers. So, RADNAV is clear. Active to secondary. Let's see, cruise 220, optimum 367, maximum 390. That is about perfectly fine. Then we can tidy up on the fix info page as well. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of Airbus theory there. And the thing I want to talk about here is the way how the airplane handles your speed in the climb. So you can see we've got a managed climb speed here of 294/0.71. Then you're going to cruise and you've got 308 or 0.71. In other words, what's going to happen is we're going to climb at this speed, and then once we reach cruise, the airplane is going to accelerate to this. However, things might look pretty different if you had slightly different cost index or weight settings. So it can happen as well that your cruising speed is going to be a lot slower than the managed climb speed. And for that there were a couple of ideas some years back on how you could prevent the Airbus from climbing much faster than it would cruise, because that would basically increase fuel flow a little bit. And some airlines have done some experiments that you would transition to a lower climb speed which equals the cruising speed, and it did turn out back then that it would actually save a little bit of fuel. However, things didn't really get adopted, so in the Airbus FM as it is, things still work, well, kind of the old-fashioned way. That's something that I found really fascinating, because the 737 was perfectly capable of overcoming that issue by simply adjusting the target Mach number to match the transition to the new cruising speed. Sounds complicated? Well, it somewhat isn't. So Let's have a quick another look. If you had 305 knots or Mach 0.71 for the cruise in the 737, then the managed speed would go like whatever this is, / 0.71. And then it would transition onto 0.71 and fly 0.71 in the cruise as well. So the 737 basically always cruised on a Mach number, regardless of the altitude. And it would simply adjust the Mach number based on the indicated airspeed that it might be looking for if you were flying at a low altitude, low cost index combination. Quite a smart airplane, I have to say. But then again, as you can see on the flight that we're flying right now, the Airbus is actually doing the same thing, so that makes our life easy as well. I do believe there is a difference between the NEO Airbuses and the conventional ones, in that the NEOs have a little bit newer flight management software that can take such things into account and adjust for them as necessary. So, speed, vertical speed. 1000 to go. 1000 foot a minute. Nice. Okay, let's have a quick look into our top of descent, because I do not believe that we are going to fly anything like this. Indeed, looking at flight radar, it seems like on routes like this, once you're airborne in Hamburg and once you're talking to Langenradar, you would often simply get a direct to one of those Delta Lima points, getting you straight into the final. So how about we do exactly the same? So let's grab some charts and have a look. We can close the Hamburg charts, don't need those anymore, and we can take Düsseldorf instead. Okay, arrival, I would say we pretty much skipped over that, but let's just quickly take the chart for the helmet transition, because it will offer us a couple of ANAV points on the final that I'm going to use for the shortcut in a few moments. Apart from that, we are going to fly an ILS approach for runway 23 right, so let's take that chart. And finally we need some taxi charts as well, and that's gonna be all. So, airport chart, and finally the parking stands. Perfect. So for the arrival, let's take a shortcut. As I just mentioned, often on a flight like this, they will simply give you direct that you can fly one straight routing. And what I'm going to choose over here is Delta Lima 455. Because that is basically on the extended centerline, 4 miles far to the final approach phase. By default, that may, however, not be in the database, so let's have a quick look into that, and into what we've got in the database up here. Because what they did in order to clean your displays up a little bit, is that only the edge points of transitions are included in ANAV transitions nowadays. So, for that reason, if you look at this, the Delta Lima 455 point actually isn't on there. It should be somewhere down here, between 450 and Regno, but as you can see, there is nothing available down there. So what we are going to do is quite easy. We are going to enter it manually. Now Airbus does say that it is not allowed to modify the final part of the approach. So the part where you have the -3 degrees shown down here. So from Regno to the runway. We must not modify this. That is not allowed. But prior to that, we can insert anything we want. So we can go Delta Lima 455 just prior to Regno, remove the discontinuity, and insert. And like that, easy, our flight plan is now set up and we can take that direct. And I do suppose we're going to do that just about now, so let's take direct to Regno. Down here it is. Okay, insert. And here we go. Now we are, well, I meant to go direct to 455. We should still... no, okay. Well, in that case, what we can still do, we can still just enter 455 manually. Even though it is not in the flight plan, the Airbus is still going to accept it. And now in the flight plan, you're going to get 455, the waypoint we're heading to, a discontinuity, and then the remainder of the flight plan you previously had. So, like this, we can pretty much insert our routing as well, even if we initially mess up the direct, and then happened to end up without. By the way, if you really messed up your flight plan, that is exactly the reason why we take the copy through the secondary. So you can see if I'm now displaying the secondary, the entire original flight plan is still available on here. Making our life easy, isn't it? Okay, let's quickly grab the latest weather. So with that, our flight plan page is pretty much set up. The routing 005 Lima Bottrop 4000, that is correct as well. So on the conventionals, we can take Lima NDB on ADF1 and then Bottrop NDB on ADF2, like so. And then if we go ADF, then we are basically set up for the approach as we need it. Okay, latest weather, let's have a very quick check. So, Düsseldorf, 240 at 9:28, 1019, and our out at Dortmund, 210 at 6. The runway is at 24 down there, so that's pretty much straight down the runway as well. Kavok 28, 1019, perfect. Okay then, while we're in cruise, let's go 1019, cross-checked. That is set up, so we can insert the runway. Düsseldorf 23 right, like so, and then descent numbers looking good. Let's quickly fill out the FMS 1019, 28 degrees and 240 with 9. Like that. Then we config 3 for the approach. And then we need our minimums, which we've got down here, 351. Okay, perfect. Let's do a little bit of mathematics here. Landing performance, Düsseldorf 23 right, reset, and compute. So we've got 365 meters margin. There's quite a distance between the landing distance required and the manual landing distance. But I tell you honestly, this one looks a bit more believable to me. So we're at a gross weight of 64.5. Normally you can say in the A320, if you've got a metric gross weight and you've got auto brakes low, then low basically is 3 times this. So we're looking at something in the region of about 1,900 meters of landing rumble with auto brakes low. And the 2033 up here come quite close to that. If we were to use auto brake medium, if we calculate that over here, it would basically be gross weight times 2. So 64.5 times 2 gives me something in the region around 1,300 meters. And if you now look at this, you can see 1,381 meters. That's just an easy way to guesstimate your landing performance. We're going to use the reversers because it is rather hot and because we will need a quick turnaround, and that is it. So, auto brakes low, reverser second detent, and the config 3 landing, and landing config 3 selected on the overhead GPWS as well. Alright, perfect. Then let's go ahead with our approach briefing. So, MSA for the approach 2800. We are going direct Delta Lima 455 for an ILS approach for runway 23 right, and we've got a minimum up here of Barrow 351. Go-around trajectory is via Delta Lima 005 Lima Bottrop, and the extra fuel and time is 27 minutes 900 kilograms. Even though, just tell me for a second, did we enter the ILS or the ANAF? We actually entered the ANAF, okay. Well, same thing, to be honest. But I am going to change the chart nonetheless, of course, because ultimately we want to be sure that we're not messing over. So that's why we do those briefings. So, ANAF 23 right, that is what we need. And that means the approach still starts at Vecno, still goes down to the runway point, 3-degree glide is still correct. Missed approach Delta Lima 005, Lima and Bottrop, kilometer 4000. So that is basically all exactly as we briefed it. Minimum 532, so that one we've got to change. Got 532. Perfect. The rest of it is unchanged. Okay, we are going to fly the approach using final up guidance. Landing flaps 3, stop margin we calculated at 365 meters. Reversers will be used, auto brakes low, and land runway exit is kilo 3. And then via kilo 3 we're going to cross runway 23 left and taxi towards the terminal. Okay, no special operations. Do you see any threats for the arrival? VFR traffic might be a little bit of a threat. It's Friday afternoon, so there is a chance there will be some dentists flying. So we'll remain inside airspace Charlie all the time, so we don't need to worry about it too much. Nonetheless, we're going to have a good look outside. Any questions? No questions? Perfect. Then let's request descent. Descent, alt, flight level 100 blue. Okay, and down we go, 18 minutes after we took off. Now look at the fuel. We still got 2.5 or 2,580 kilograms of fuel on board up here. And if we look at the estimated fuel on arrival, 2.3 tons. So we're going to burn just about 300 kilos for the entirety of the descent and the approach. And that is quite an amazing number, isn't it? The fuel usage of those modern engines really is impressive. Now, if I'm thinking about what things are going to look like in maybe 20 years' time, when the next generation of aircraft is going to be out, then I'll probably say like, oh, look at how much fuel the NEO is burning and so on. But it's incredible how much of a difference this really makes, isn't it? Alright, so, Germany. Germany as it looks like. Really like the looks of Auto, I have to say. Now, it's not exactly up to Microsoft Flight Simulator in terms of visuals, but it is pretty cool. And with the overall immersion factor, I do believe that with the ToLiss Airbuses and the good sound pack, be it the Blue Sky Star or the COSP, on this video we're using Blue Sky Star, but both of them are really worth a look at. So, especially with those sound packs, the immersion factor of flying those aircraft in X-Plane, in my opinion, really is the same as the immersion factor in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, things don't look 100% as pretty, but on the other hand side, the better flight physics and the better sounds really make up for quite a bit. And overall, I tend to say that I like both simulators equally these days. I really do. Now, there are things where I prefer to fly X-Plane, that is flying Airbuses at the moment, because there is just such a better variety available. However, that might change when Phoenix brings out the A319 and A321. We'll have to see about that. That's something I really prefer X-Plane for. And then obviously for flying Boeings, yeah, I still prefer the PMDG over the Zibo. Even though the Zibo flies better, but the PMDG just looks better, in my opinion sounds better, even though I know that there are different opinions out there. And overall, that one really comes down to personal feel. And then of course there's the upcoming aircraft out there as well. On the other hand side, there are still quite a couple of Boeings that I need to try out on X-Plane, thinking about the Velis 747 up here, or maybe the Flight Factor 777 V2. Might be interesting to see how that one's going to hold up to the PMDG, so things are certainly going to remain interesting over the next couple of time. But then again, the most important thing here is, regardless which of the two simulators you're using, the most important thing is that you simply enjoy what you have. And that one I simply cannot overemphasize enough. Okay. Seatbelts on. So let's have another quick look outside and see what things look like from there. Here we go. I really like the looks of the NEO. What do you think about it? Do you like it? Or do you think the conventional engines look better? And if you prefer the conventional engines, then do you prefer the CFM or the IAE engines? Do let me know in the comments below. I am really keen to know. Personally, I have to say that I like the look of the NEO best over the other two. Even though the IAE engines, they really have a little bit of charm there as well. Now, that might just come down to the fact that I am flying the Rolls-Royce the most on the A330, even though my airline does have a couple of GEs as well, but I don't know. In any case, I do have to say that the Neo engines really look best. Right, let's go right back into the cockpit and continue our approach. So we do have a company message. That is probably the weather I requested earlier on. Indeed it is. Okay, we had a look at that already, so that's quite fine for me. Right, cool. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more of manual flying. Come on. Okay, auto thrust off. Perfect. So, really looking forward to how things are gonna feel like with the WinWings stick. And now let's continue the descent. We are going down to altitude 3000 on the QNH 1019. 3000 blue, set QNH 1019, passing 11,200 now. Cross-checked. You know what the good thing is flying an Airbus? You basically don't need to think about flying too much, because once the plane is pointing into the right direction, the fly-by-wire will simply make it fly there. Okay, time to start deceleration. Pitch it up straight into the flight director. You can see how lovely it behaves over here, and how little of corrections I can make on these aircraft compared to my previous Thrustmaster HAM-DUS. I really like the WinWings better, I have to say. It doesn't feel as stiff. That may be a good or a bad thing depending on the airplane you're flying, of course. But at least for the Airbus, it doesn't feel as stiff, and it just gives you that little bit more control on the minor correction. Like, just don't even look at the PFD, but look outside and look at how small of a correction I can make if I just pitch down a tiny bit like now. And that was really hard to do with the Thrustmaster. Right, now let's follow the flight director again. Here we go. Okay then, passing 10,000. Come on. And the seatbelts are on, constraints are selected already. We don't need BLS as we're doing an on-off approach. We've got GPS primary and engine start select normal. Perfect. Okay, approach checklist. Barrel ref, QNH 1019, seatbelts on minimum, baro 532, auto brake, low, engine start selector, norm, approach checklist complete. And that's how easy it is, my friends. Flying an Airbus is peanuts, isn't it? Now that's obviously oversimplifying things, but you can see how the Airbus is, compared to the 737, a better optimized aircraft in my opinion. It just is a little bit more pilot oriented, and the flows are a little bit easier, you have a little bit less to do, the airplane is going to warn you earlier if anything's going wrong. Like right now we are about to start flying an ANAF approach, and on the ANAF we don't need to worry about things like losing a GPS or so, because in case any degradation happens, it's going to tell us right on the navigation display. Even though, it is interesting to see how over-reliant you can become on these things. So quite a couple of my instructors in the A330 rating told me that when they had crews flying an ANAF approach, and they inserted a downgrade in the navigation capability, which is going to show straight on the navigation display in an amber message, a lot of crews actually didn't detect it. I did find that yeah, I did find that quite fascinating, I have to say. Sorry for my English here. But that's actually quite cool. Also look at how precisely I can follow the flight director over here, and how precisely I can fly, because this is really what manual flight is all about. Let's zoom in quite a bit. You can see the flight director slightly on top of the position that we're supposed to be in. So let's correct that with a very tiny stick input. Here we go. And that's about as little of a correction as the flight director has just demanded us to do. But you can see how this is very possible with a WinWings stick, versus previously on the Thrustmaster that was a little bit more difficult. Not impossible, of course, but just a little bit more difficult. What I also quite like about the all the different ToLiss Airbuses is that you have different FMS standards all along the way. For example, the NEO obviously is a very new aircraft, so we have the auto brake settings showing up here. And we get the decel information right on the PFD. We don't have to look to the auto brake for that. Now, the decel information is something interesting anyway in the Airbuses, because basically you don't call decel just because you see the decel light over here. You need to feel that the airplane is actually slowing down, and you need to feel how the airplane is doing what you wanted to do. Now, why is that so important? Well, quite easy. Especially when you're landing or rejecting a takeoff on a contaminated runway. The decel light might not illuminate. Now, the decel light itself is bound to the rate of deceleration that your airplane is achieving. So it only illuminates when your airplane is decelerating with at least 80% of the target deceleration. And when we're following that, it basically means that if you're on a contaminated runway where even full brake application and full reversers can't get that target deceleration of the auto brake max setting, then the decel light is not going to illuminate. Now, if you, however, don't call the deceleration out, it might tempt the other crew member to slam into the manual brakes. However, here's the thing. Auto braking is usually more effective than manual braking, even when it is max manual braking. The reason for that is that many pilots tend to not press the brake pedals all the way in during max manual braking, just because they're not used to doing it. And well, if that happens, then guess what's gonna happen next? Well, obviously you are going to get worse deceleration than if you simply left the auto brake in to do its job. Right, trusting a diesel point, let's pitch up a little bit. Again, I just love how precise I can fly the airplane with this. I'm recording this just after a couple of intensive A330 hand flying sessions in preparation for the type rating skill check, and I do have to say that this feels pretty close. Obviously we're sitting in an A320, not in an A330, but nonetheless, the behavior of the aircraft basically should be round about the same. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked, flaps 1. Let's arm the approach mode. So, F-lock star. And then we've got an FLS fitted to the airplane over here. So what FLS does is it basically fakes an ILS-like indication, but based on RNAV data. F-lock. Alt star. Alt. F glide slope star. glide slope.
2,500.
Check. We're on altitude 4,000 set. Okay, I'll start configuring the airplane for final just a little earlier. Flaps 2. Speed checked. Flaps 2. Gear down.
2,000.
Now it might be me, but I have a feeling that the ToLiss Airbuses have a tendency when you go flaps 2 to go a little bit too far down on the pitch. That could be a little bit improved with a future update, I hope. Okay. Then let's go flaps 3. Speed check, flaps 3. Landing checklist, econ memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Okay, so we're looking for a target pitch in the region of about between 3 and 4 degrees on the final. And that actually looks pretty good. Thrust 55%. Looks good as well. Very nice. Okay, it looks very good, and look at how accurately I can fly this thing with the new stick.
400.
Minimum.
Continue.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Okay, right onto the aiming point. Oh, spoiler, reverse green, decel. Manual brakes. And that's Kilo 3 coming up just over here, 70 knots. Alright, looks just about perfect. And here we are, runway is vacated. Okay, crossing 2-3 left, clear on the left, clear on the right. And let's go ahead and start up the APU. So, something that I still hope to see implemented in the Fenix Airbus, that the ToLisses are doing really good, is the brake temperature after landing. You can see we've got the brake hot light illuminated there already, and that is only going to get worse as we taxi in. Let's have a quick look at the wheel page. Down there you can see it, we've got 320 degrees already, 370 even, on one wheel. The brakes are getting rather hot. Now they're not approaching any critical status, otherwise I would be turning on the brake fan straight away. But like this we try to basically avoid having to use the brake fan for as long as we can to avoid brake oxidation, as that would otherwise shorten the life of the brakes. You can do it. I rather have the brakes oxidized than having the brakes or having the tires melt, but you get where I'm going with this. Okay, guidance system unfortunately not operating. That is too bad, then we just gotta park it ourselves. Something like that. Okay, brake set, APU is on. So, engines running down, and then heading through Old Dawson Park. Okay, slides disarmed, parking checklists. Parking brake chocks, brake set, engines off, wing light off, fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. Right, perfect. So, welcome to Düsseldorf, everyone. I do hope that you've enjoyed this little flight. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves some chocks and external power. Chocks are quite important when the brakes are hot, so that you can actually release the brakes, as that is going to help with the cooling quite a bit, actually. So let's see, 440 degrees right now. I don't think they're gonna get much hotter, so we will be just about fine. Don't use the brake fans too early, because once you started using them, the readout of the brake temperature might no longer be accurate, and therefore you've got a much lower limit for your allowed brake temperatures for takeoff than if you were to use the, or than if you were not to use the brake fans. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Alright, I'll keep the APU running because it is still 28 degrees outside, but that is going to be it for this video, guys. I surely hope that you enjoyed this little flight. Now, if you did, do let me know in the comments below. I'm very much looking forward to welcoming you all again to the next video. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to do a little bit more flying with the WinWings stick. And that's going to be it for today. So if you liked the video, leave a like, as it does help out with the YouTube algorithms. Do let me know what you think about the video in the comments below, and if you think I should do more flights like this. And finally, I am very much looking forward to your subscription if you are interested in more. For now, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to support the channel, why not make a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again on the next one.